The market is still giving sellers an opportunity, but it is no longer forgiving overpriced listings.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep, totally.
Let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
Because in January, there were 164 price changes on active listings.
Wow.
In February, there were 124.
Yeah.
And mid-May, there's 102.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
We're not COVID. We're not in Kansas anymore.
Nope.
We're right here. We're in a seller's market,
Yep.
buyer mentality.
Yep.
Why is it still happening?
I think that there is still some scar tissue from that period of time, and scar tissue meaning like people are still living in the world where they think the market is as hot or close to as hot as it was during that period at the first part of this decade. And so, that realization is only being answered by the market, that it's not that anymore. So you're trying. So if you were convinced your house was worth $800,000 and you're putting it on for $850 with the hopes that you're going to get that, that now is the death knell on your listing, right? Like,
Absolutely.
It's going to be hard to bring it down and still get that $800,000. But people are still in that mentality and put whatever price on and just wait for the offers to roll in.
But what's interesting, even though because we all start off at a number, right?
Yep.
And then you end up dropping.
Yep.
And even at the price when you got an offer, between January and February, that's still going down about $40,000 just to bring a deal together.
Yeah.
And that's the average.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's wild.
So 60 in January, there was 185 homes sold.
Yep.
Out of that 185 homes sold, you had 164 that sold under list.
Yeah.
And in February, 214 sold,
Yeah.
and 132 were under list.
Yeah.
And if you, as a seller, are looking for money for your retirement or for your whatever, unfortunately, it's what the market's willing to pay for, not what you need.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. The people who are in the right position and who are thinking about it the right way are those who have to sell and buy as a part of the whole transaction, right?
Yeah.
And it was very clear during COVID what you would do is you would put it on and you'd get way more than you thought you were going to get for it. So that money would be available for you to go overpay or pay above the list price, I should say, for your next one. The same is true on the other side. If you're having to accept less, you're going to go out and you're going to go negotiate down on the next one that you're going to buy as well. So that can wash out a little bit if you're a buyer and a seller. But you just referred to someone who's selling to put the rest of the money in their nest egg and retire. That's a harder thing to realize, is that I now am having to negotiate down the amount of money I can put in that nest egg. And it's just, people don't want to come to that realization. They don't want to admit that until the market really insists that upon them. So.
But is some of that our fault?
Sure it is. Of course it is. Yeah. I mean, that's what our job as a realtor is to explain to them, right? Is always keep them aware of what's going on in the market. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been in the market where there's 18 months of inventory.
Yep.
So what that means for any of our viewers who don't know, if nothing else came to the market, it would take us 18 months to sell.
That's right. Yep.
And if I get a product that's on the market now for 90 days, I'll get an agent tell me, well, why hasn't it sold?
Yeah.
Well, let's have a conversation. You tell me why it hasn't sold.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's the market.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Right? So, there's a few things I believe here that need to be unfolded. It's okay if your house has been on the market an average of 90 days because it's normal.
Yep.
And, but if you're getting all of these showings and you're not getting an offer, that's an issue.
You got to read that reaction
Read the
to
room.
your, absolutely.
Yeah. What was interesting, do you know now I get reports that, so I always know how many showings are happening.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I just got the report that I know how many showings now are happening in what price point.
Okay, excellent.
I don't know if you have that one yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. No.
Oh, it's good.
That's interesting.
And because I have a couple of $1 million listings.
Yeah.
And I think in the last 90 days, there was only 145 showings across $900,000 plus.
Yep.
And I think it worked out to be 3.6 showings per listing.
Per listing, interesting.
Yeah. So that segment is slow. But if you're between 400 and 599, that's bananas.
Lots of showings. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's often the question that I ask people as well. Is I was at the airport the other day and ran into one of our agents, and we were talking about a listing that he has that's a $2 million listing. And he said, so, do you think I should bring the price down? Because we have had not a lot of activity over the last little bit, right? And I said, well, describe to me the activity, because there's two problems that could exist. There's either the problem of there's nobody buying $2 million listings in that area.
Yep.
Or there's people buying $2 million listings who are choosing something other than the one that you have to offer, right? Because the first one, if you're going to bring a price down, you have to bring a price down so much that it's such a good deal that people can't afford to turn it down. Somebody will all of a sudden materialize as a buyer.
Yeah.
If it's the second problem, you just need to beat everyone else on the market. You need to be better than the other guys who you're competing with there, right? And he went back and did the research. He texted me the next day and said, nobody's bought anything anywhere close to this. And I said, okay, well, I'm not sure, you're ready for a very small price reduction then. I don't think that's going to move the needle. You can move it down to $1.5 million, in which case you have a whole new pool of people, but that's a tough thing to talk to a seller about, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if there were other buyers in that market, you needed to be the one they picked, and they didn't see enough value in yours compared to the other one. So there's two parts to that conversation here. When you're talking about $500,000 to $800,000, there's so many others there. You just need to be perceived as the best value for the money, right?
And
to make the decision.
I don't believe in price points just to drop. Price drops just to drop. Like,
I agree.
if nothing else is selling around us, why are we going to drop? It's just going to fall on deaf ears.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
But if other things are selling and we're not, then that's an issue.
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
And it's so funny. So I'm going on 16 years this year.
Yeah.
And the past 2 years have been the easiest conversations for me now to talk about pricing.
Good.
Because it is to know the market. It is like, hey, well,
yeah.
what's happening around us?
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's helping but then you do get some sellers. Like I had one person just didn't want to hear what I had to say, but probably most people feel that way.
Yeah. No.
True story.
Yeah.
But reality is, he had an appraiser come in and said his house was worth X, and I'm like,
I know, that's hard.
Like,
That's hard.
You're 800, and that was last year, and now I was at like 1.2, and now I think he's at close to, I don't know, close to the 800s now, and he still hasn't sold. But if we had
been at the right price right off the bat, you'd be on to the next place, and maybe for more money than you're going to end up with. So.
Yeah, because so I like price drops. For a couple of reasons. I love viewpoint. Like everybody else, right? And I like the fact that when you have a price drop, it goes back up. But do price drops always work in your favor?
I think once you realize you're at the wrong price, the journey's going to get tricky and very probably disappointing, right? Like what I've often seen, and it's kind of an old adage of the market that just seems to keep playing out over and over again, is that if you hit the right price right off the bat, you tend to get the fair
market value
for it, right? If you start too high, you tend to have to bring it down slightly below fair market value to get interest, because people have kind of already dismissed it as overvalued, and that's the stamp that's been put on their brain about your property. So they do ultimately work, and when you're motivated and you have to sell, there becomes a point where there's not a lot of choice but to drop price, right? And,
and I've seen that happen, and like where they didn't want to list in the first place. And you're getting lower than what would have been discussed in the first place.
Absolutely, yeah, no doubt. Which is it sucks because you then live in this hindsight world where you think, oh, I should have just done this, right?
But do sellers really?
Ultimately, once you make the decision and you sign on that dotted line, I've had almost no seller come back and say, oh, well, I'm disappointed and don't want to move on with my life. For the most part, you just get on with your life.
I think the only person complains or has said something is the agent who didn't get the listing because
that's right.
They gave a price, the seller's like, God, no.
That's right.
And, they get, swooped up by, oh, wow, look at this price.
Absolutely, yeah.
And,
totally.
and I'm meeting with the seller on Monday, and I said, look, he said, the agents who are coming in are $80,000 apart. He said, so I want to hear what you have to say. So at the end of the day, is that I can put on any price for your property. It's what market value is going to be. You just need to know who you want to work with.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with more.
Because I think the biggest thing would be the agents that you're working with, because you got to get to home plate.
Yep, absolutely. That's exactly it, right? So and I've certainly seen people who go in and they quote unquote buy listings is what the term is we use, where they'll say, oh yeah, they actually think it's worth 8 and they're telling you 9 because they think that's going to impress you. Ultimately, we know it to be a disservice to you at that point, right?
I get stressed because I mean, again, I want the seller to make as much money as they possibly can. Yeah. But if I'm not selling it, like I got to carry that.
Absolutely.
It's not it's far from a burden because I'm not the seller, but I am stressed because I want to do a good job for them and I want them to be happy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to really feel it when it was on my own street and I have to drive by the sign every day seeing that I hadn't sold it yet. You know what I mean? This is back when houses were taking 6-7 months on average to sell again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a lot. It does wear on you. You want to do a good job for people. We all want to do a good job for people, right? And give them the right advice. And we're all out there working hard to try and move properties for them. And it is stressful. To your point, it's not as stressful as what the seller's going through because they need to unlock that to go on to the next phase of their life. But it's hard on the agent sometimes too. And that's why, I think you're one of the good ones who would say, it's better for me to be honest with you up front than try and beat you down later on, right? So
no, because I don't like doing that.
No, I don't either. Yes,
Thanks, Matt.
No problem.